Frederick Douglass. He was best known, he was a former slave and an eminent human rights leader in the abolition movement, and he was also the first black citizen to hold a high U.S. government rank. And he gave a famous speech in 1879 or 1872. By the way, if anybody wants a copy of the full text of the speech, it's 21 pages long. I'm not reading that tonight. All right, it's a lot of information. But the information was true back then, and it's just as good now. So if you guys want a copy, there's a link here. Write it down, take it home, get on the internet. If you don't have access to internet for whatever reason, ask me for a copy. I'll be happy to print it and give it to you. I'll send it out with your next paychecks. Just ask Laura, and we'll get you a copy of the whole text of this speech. So I'm not going to give you the speech, but I actually am going to read a portion of it because it really pertains to all of us in this room. So I'm going to get started. And what he's talking about is when we attempt to account for greatness, we never get nearer to the truth than did the greatest of poets and philosophers when he classified the conditions of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. We take our choice of these three separate explanations and make which of them we please most prominent in our discussion. Much can certainly be said of superior mental endowments, and I shall, on some accounts, lean strongly to that theory, but for numerous examples which seem and do contradict it, and for the depressing tendency such a theory must have on humanity generally. This theory has truth in it, but it's not the whole truth. Men of very ordinary faculties have, nevertheless, made a very respectable way in the world and have sometimes presented even brilliant examples of success. On the other hand, what is called genius is often found by the wayside, a miserable wreck, more deplorable and shocking, because from the height from which it has fallen and the loss and ruin involved in that fall. And I do not think much of the good luck theory of self-made men. It is worth but little attention and has no practical value. An apple carelessly flung into the crowd may hit one person, or it may hit another, or it may hit nobody. The probabilities are precisely the same in this accident theory of self-made men. It divorces a man from his own achievements, contemplates him as being of chance, and leaves him without will, motive, ambition, and aspiration. Yet the accident theory is amongst the most popular theories of individual success. It has about it an air of mystery, which the multitude so well like, and withal it does something to mar the complacency of the successful. It is one of the easiest and commonest things in the world for a successful man to be followed in his career through life and have constantly pointed out this or that particular stroke of good fortune which fixed his destiny and made him successful. If not ourselves great, we like to explain why others are so. We're stingy in our praise to merit, but generous in our praise to chance. Besides, a man feels himself measurably great when he could point out the precise moment and circumstance which made his neighbor great. He easily fancies the slight difference between himself and his friend is simply one of luck. And it was his friend who was lucky, but it might easily have been himself. Then, too, the next best thing to success is a valid apology for non-success. Detraction is to many a delicious morsel. The excellence which it loudly denies to others, it silently claims for itself. It possesses the means of covering the small with the glory of the great. It adds to failure that which takes from success and shortens the distance between those in front and those in the rear. Even here, there's an upward tendency worthy of notice and respect. The kitchen is ever the critic of the parlor. The talk of those below is of those above. We imitate those we revere and admire. But the main objection to this very comfortable theory is that, like most other theories, it's made to explain too much. While it ascribes success to chance and friendly circumstances, it's apt to take no cognizance of the very different uses to which different men put to their circumstances and chances. Fortune may crowd a man's life with fortunate circumstances and happy opportunities, but they will, as we all know, avail him nothing unless he makes wise and vigorous use of them. It does not matter that the wind is fair and the tide is at its flood, if the mariner refuses to weigh his anchor and spread his canvas into the breeze. The golden harvest is ripe in vain if the farmer refuses to reap. Opportunity is important, but exertion is indispensable. When we find a man who has ascended heights beyond ourselves, who has a broader range of vision than we, and a sky with more stars in it than we have in ours, we may know that he has worked harder and more wisely than we. He was awake while we slept. He was busy working while we were idle and wisely improving his time while we were wasting ours. I am certain that there's nothing good, great, or desirable which man can possess in this world that does not come from some kind of labor of physical, mental, moral, or spiritual. A man at times gets something for nothing, but it will in his hands amount to nothing. And what is true in the world of matter is equally true in the world of the mind. Without culture, there can be no growth. Without exertion, no acquisition. Without friction, no polish. Without labor, no knowledge. Without action, no progress. And without conflict, no victory. A man that lies down a fool at night, hoping that he'll awaken wise in the morning, will rise up in the morning as he lay down in the evening. From these remarks, it will be evident that allowing only ordinary ability and opportunity, we may explain success mainly by one word, and that word is work. Work, work, work. Not transient and fitful effort, but patient, enduring, honest, unremitting, indefatigable work into which the whole heart is put, and which in both temporal and spiritual affairs is the true miracle worker. Everyone may avail himself to this marvelous power, if he will. There's no royal road to perfection. Certainly no one must wait for some kind of a friend to put a springboard under his feet, where he can easily bound from the first round of the ladder onward and upward to the highest round. If he waits for this, he may wait too long, and perhaps forever. He who does not think himself worth saving from poverty and ignorance by his own efforts will hardly be thought worth the efforts of anybody else. The lesson taught at this point by the human experience is simply this, that the man who will get up will be helped up, and the man who will not get up will be allowed to stay down. This rule may appear somewhat harsh, but in its general application and operation it is wise, just, and beneficent. I know of no other rule which can be substituted for it without bringing social chaos. Personal independence is a virtue, and it is the soul out of which comes the sturdiest of manhood. But there can be no independence without a large share of self-dependence, and this virtue cannot be bestowed, and it must be developed from within. But another element of success deserves a word, and that element is order. Systematic endeavor. We succeed not alone by our laborious exertions of our faculties, be they small or great, but by the regular, thoughtful, and systematic exercise of them. Order, the first law of heaven, is itself a power. The battle is nearly lost when your lines are in disorder. Regular, orderly, and systematic effort which moves without friction and needless loss of time or power, which has a place for everything and everything in its place, which knows just where to begin, how to proceed, and where to end. Though marked by no extraordinary outlay of energy, of activity, will work wonders, not only in the matters of accomplishment, but also in the increase in the ability of the individual. It will make the wise man, the weak man strong, the strong man stronger, the simple man wise, the wise man wiser, and will ensure success by the power and influence that belong to habit. There is still another element essential to success, and that is commanding object and a sense of its importance. The vigor of the action depends upon the power of the motive. Work is not often undertaken for its own sake. The worker is conscious of an object worthy of effort and works for that object, not for what he is to it, but for what it is to him. All are not moved by the same objects. Happiness is the object of some. Wealth and fame are the object of others. But wealth and fame are beyond the reach of the majority of men, and thus to them, these are not motive-impelling objects. Happily, however, personal, family, and community well-being stand near to us all and are full of lofty inspirations to earnest endeavor if we would but respond to their influence. That's the speech. Now, basically, at the end, what he's talking about is a dream. What motivates you to push beyond your normal boundaries? We all need to keep that in front of us to be able to understand why we have to do this, why we want to do this, why we want to improve ourselves, why we want to improve our standings. Have that dream in your head. Why did I read this? Because it's belief that we're all self-made men and women, and we're responsible for our own standing in life. We can influence our impact in this world by our own thoughts and actions. We're not entitled to a job simply by showing up. We got to reproduce results every day. We're not entitled to success in our lives. Nobody owes us anything without us working for it and earning it with our actions every day. The reason I believe this is because it empowers me to do more. This idea puts success in my own hands. It also puts it in yours. We all have the same choice to better ourselves. We can choose to learn how to be better pipe fitters, welders, apprentices, foremen, field supervisors, project managers, administrators, leaders, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers. This is within our reach. We can read books about our profession. We can choose to learn how and why we do things a certain way. We choose to offer a hand to our men working next to us to help them learn and lift them up instead of holding them back or trying to keep them down. We can choose to ask our mentors for help and advice. We can choose to learn the principles of leadership. We can choose to learn how to communicate effectively. We can by learning how to type documents, by speaking clearly. I know this is hard. It's not in our comfort zone. It's certainly not in mine. I'm out of my zone right now. But it feels weird. But it's hard work. But you know what? It also feels great. It's invigorating. You have to find your motivation to push yourself to learn more and become more. My motivation is to provide a good life for my family, to help them have success in my life. Also to be the best I can be in everything I choose to do. Desire and motivation, it's inside all of us. We got to tap it. What moves you? What's your why? Why am I asking this question? Well, because I want you to think about it. Reach inside your soul and understand what makes you tick. Why? Well, because you're going to need to know your why when your friends are making fun of you for reading or learning how to type or doing something that's odd that they think is crazy. You know that your friends, they don't mind you getting ahead. They just don't want you to get ahead of them. When you find your why, you got to draw on it when things get tough, when the doubts creep in, when you're tired, and your mind's telling you that this is not worthy of your best efforts. And I can't make anybody any promises about how your life will turn out. No one can. I can promise you that the time's going to go on whether we do this or not, okay? And whether we choose an enlightened path or not. We can choose to learn or grow, and we can choose to be the same person we are today with no growth in our lives, both mentally, financially, 5 years from now. Most of us stopped learning when we graduated high school and we started working. We told ourselves at the time all we need to do was to show up, do our jobs, and our lives would be good. Well, how's that working out? Our results in our life right here, right now, are the results of every decision and choice we've ever made. And if we're satisfied with results, great, we're doing good. If not, we have the power to change right here, right now. Hard work and self-improvement is our choice, and it empowers us to influence our future. Just as it was back in 1800 when Frederick Douglass wrote this speech.